announced new quarantine classifications for June. Metro Manila mayors want to retain the current status, but they also want to open up more businesses.
Sa recommendation din po ng ating MMC ay CCG pa rin po tayo, pero pagbubukas po na, i-contain po natin mga negosyo. Di tayo pwede po mag-relax. Alam naman natin na bumababa po yung ating po mga cases, pati yung ating mga utility, ang ating utilization ng ating po mga healthcare, mga hospital, ICU, pero hindi pa kailangan po tayo mag-relax para po talagang totally ma-contain po natin itong ating COVID dito.
NCR Plus is seeing a decline in cases, but the Visayas and Mindanao have been hit by a surge in infections.
We're dealing with new variants, no? It's a complete game changer, no? Kumbaga. Pangalawa, hindi naman tayo nag-lockdown sa Mindanao at saka sa Visayas. Ang lockdown talaga natin the past few months, dito lang sa Luzon, no? So, ibig sabihin lang siguro, baka kinakailangan pag-aralan ang posibilidad ng higher quarantine classification sa iba't ibang parte ng Visayas at ng Mindanao.
San Juan Mayor Francis Zamora expects consumer confidence to go up once the A4 priority group or essential workers have been vaccinated. He's now banking on government's commitment. More vaccine doses are arriving in June and July.
And we are ready for A4 once we achieve that everyone who works here in San Juan has been fully vaccinated. Then this will really increase the confidence of consumers to enter our establishments, and this will be the time when we can say that yes, we can really open up the economy already because we can assure the safety of everyone.
A surge in coronavirus patients pushes the COVID isolation ward and intensive care unit at the Southern Philippines Medical Center in Davao City to critical levels. Hospital officials say ICU bed utilization rate is at 100%, while the isolation ward is 93% utilized. They add there's a shortage in manpower, with nurse-to-patient ratio currently at 1 to 30, and more than double the ideal ratio of 1 to 12. The hospital says public complacency led to the spike in infections.
Last month, April of this year, our data actually decreased when Metro Manila is increased. So probably because of complacency, the people now engage in group outings, they're engaged in gatherings, and probably because they have been vaccinated.
The global supply problem causes a delay in the delivery of the first batch of AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines procured by the private sector. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion says about 1.17 million doses will arrive by July 14 instead of the fourth week of June.
Ready na yung private sector, yung logistics provider natin, kaya na rin ready yung mga bakuna centers. Unfortunately, hindi natin makokontrol to. Talagang may mga delay in the whole work. So, dito sa AstraZeneca, puti na lang yung delay nila in a couple of weeks.
The vaccines arriving in July are meant for private sector workers and are allocated as first doses. Concepcion says the second AstraZeneca doses could be administered 8 to 12 weeks after. More than 5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines administered nearly 3 months after the country's inoculation drive kicked off. 1.2 million Filipinos have been fully vaccinated. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez says vaccinations should reach 500,000 daily, at least in high-risk areas, to achieve herd immunity by November.
State supply, kaya nila yung mga targets niya. Kaya ako am very confident na makukuha natin yung containment by August or September. Makukontain na natin, magkakaroon na tayo ng more than 30% ng ating population. Makukuha po natin. Just in case magkaroon po tayo nagtatawag na yung constriction sa supply, ang pinahanap po natin is yung first quarter po ng 2022.
The Philippines will will begin vaccinations for the A4 priority group, or workers from the private sector, government agencies, and the informal sector this June. That says 10 million more doses are expected to arrive in the country. But employees working from home will still have to wait a bit more.
Pa-prioritize muna tayo yung mga talagang hindi hindi kaya mag-work from home. Yung klase ng trabaho nila, mabiyahe, sila rin actually pwedeng nag-spread itong transmission na to.
The Philippines' third economic stimulus bill, or Bayanihan 3, unlikely to hurdle the Senate this week. That's according to Senate President Vicente Soto III, who says there's not enough time to look into the measure. The House plans to pass Bayanihan 3 before Congress adjourns Friday. Soto says senators are likely to take it up when sessions resume in August.
And nevertheless, as far as Bayanihan 2 is concerned, we still have, it's still ongoing, and there are unprogrammed, unfunded, or unused funds. The program, the funds I understand is about, has only been 50% of the total allocation. And out of the 50% that has been allocated, only 70% is used. So, aside from the time constraints, there is difficulty of trying to finish up with Bayanihan 2, which we have extended to until the end of the year. And then Bayanihan 3, with the differences from the Senate version and the House version, very doubtful in the next 4 days.
Philippine Central Bank Governor Benjamin Wilkno agrees with the Senate President that there's still a lot of money floating around unspent. Wilkno says the best thing government can do to stimulate the economy is to ramp up COVID-19 vaccinations.
Now, with the successful vaccination program, I think we might have a chance to hit at least 6%, because with the vaccination, you gain confidence to consumers. That will, of course, lead to more economic activity.
Gaming, that whole culture, exploring virtual spaces, is absolutely critical to what we're able to do now.
Gaming is the only frame that we feel we can bring to it. Just shows how poorly we've actually thought about these issues. Me personally, not you, obviously.
Hyundai Motor, connecting art and technology.
Police and elsewhere.
The decision hinged on the support of one man, tech millionaire and leader of the Yamina Party, Naftali Bennett.
I intend to do everything I can to form a national unity government together with my friend Yair Lapid, so that with God's help, we shall together rescue the state from turbulence and put Israel back on track again.
His support was critical in getting the numbers needed to gain a clear majority in the 120-seat parliament. Yamina has just 6 members in the Knesset, a tiny fraction, but enough to make Bennett kingmaker. He supports the annexation of the West Bank and says a Palestinian state would be disastrous for Israel. His politics may widely differ from other politicians he'd be allied with in a power-sharing deal, but what they have in common is a determination to remove the current prime minister from office. For his part, Benjamin Netanyahu argues that unseating him could pose an existential threat to the country.
Such a government is a danger to the security of Israel, and is also a danger for the state's future.
Local media say under the agreement, Bennett would lead the government for the first 2 years. That's if it can hold it together for that long. The head of the centrist Yesh Atid party, Yair Lapid, would become prime minister after that. The agreement comes after weeks of negotiations and 4 elections in the space of 2 years. Netanyahu, throughout that time, failed to gain a majority in parliament or form a lasting coalition government. He has also been on trial for corruption charges, repelling possible political allies. Bennett and Lapid have until Wednesday to finalize a deal.
On the radio this morning, she said she made mention of New Zealand's independent foreign policy, which is often a code for talking about a little bit of distance from either the United States or Australia. The difficulty for Australia and New Zealand is that as soon as you get those differences, right now, because of the tensions and the geopolitical contest that's going on, China is quite keen to jump on those and say, there are these differences. Australia, this is how New Zealand is doing it, although, and also Global Times, the editorial said, signals, New Zealand knows its approach to China. It doesn't want to become a second Australia. So for New Zealand and Australia, there are going to be some differences, but one of the goals here is to make sure that there isn't such a gap that China feels that it is able to actually try to divide that very important alliance relationship.
The Singapore Prime Minister will be addressing the nation this afternoon on plans to progressively reopen while keeping COVID-19 under control. Lee Hsien Loong's speech will be broadcast on his Facebook.
단지를 소망합니다. 선교사님, 이영미 선교사님께서 촬영해 주신
It's just the latest in a string of similar kidnappings. Meanwhile, still on the run, a massive manhunt underway for a former French soldier in southwest of France. 300 police officers and tactical units are on the ground combing the Dordogne region. The 29-year-old they're searching for is said to have opened fire at officers responding to a domestic violence dispute. He is said to be armed. His location has been narrowed down to a wooded area of about 4 square kilometres. Sri Lanka is going to sue the owners of a Singapore-registered cargo ship that has burned for 11 days straight off its west coast, causing some, if not the worst, marine pollution there. Huge amounts of plastic and nitric acids and dangerous particles onto the beaches, forcing fishing bans. The fire now under control, but the ship is still smouldering in Sri Lankan waters. Sharon Gaffney has the story.
Thick smoke still billows almost 2 weeks after this container ship went up in flames. The vessel, carrying tons of chemicals, caught fire as it was waiting to enter Colombo harbour. With 80 kilometres of the coastline swamped with plastic pellets and debris, authorities say it could be the worst beach pollution in Sri Lankan history.
We have identified 10 areas we are critically polluted, but there are many other areas that we need to deploy triforces and volunteers for collecting these debris.
The impact on mangroves, lagoons and other marine wildlife is being assessed as scientists warn the repercussions could cause years of ecological damage. The government is to provide financial aid to fishermen who've been banned from operating in the waters. The Catholic Church is urging the state to seek compensation directly from the ship's insurers.
We have 4,500 families, fisher folks. Most of the villages are fishermen, so the people got affected because of this tragic situation.
A Dutch firm has sent specialist firefighting tugs to help salvage and tow the vessel, but their efforts have been hampered by strong winds. The ship's owners say the hull remains intact with no damage to its fuel tanks, easing fears of a potential oil slick. Authorities have begun a criminal investigation into the unprecedented marine disaster, with questions being asked about how the fire broke out on a ship that was only built 3 months ago. They believe the blaze may have been caused by a chemical leak. Questioning of the 25-member crew will begin on Monday.
Fined $15,000 after winning the first round at the Roland Garros tennis tournament, Naomi Osaka's refusal to attend media conferences somewhat overshadowed the first day of play. Osaka was warned even that she could face expulsion from the tournament. The first day went on until midnight, in fact, with American Madison Keys finally clinching a victory over Oceane Boudin. A match played without any spectators as a 9 p.m. COVID-19 curfew had come into effect and saw fans ushered out, though not for a day that many have indeed celebrated.
Pour un euro, pour moi, c'est quelque chose d'immense. Je suis passionné de tennis. Et vraiment pouvoir revenir ici après plus de 2 ans, parce que la dernière fois que je suis venu c'était en 2019, en 2020 on n'a pas pu venir. Donc forcément ça va être quelque chose de particulier, même avec le protocole sanitaire, on va pouvoir profiter des matchs, voir les joueurs. Donc c'est vraiment quelque chose d'exceptionnel quand même.
C'est une grande joie parce que nous ça fait 2 ans, hein, on n'est pas venu ici depuis 2 ans. À chaque fois qu'on a nos places, c'est super. C'est super. Vous savez, quand je me sens assez en sécurité, mais je vous avoue, j'avais pris rendez-vous pour faire un test PCR il y a 2 jours, comme on savait pas vraiment comment la situation allait évoluer. Mais du coup, je l'ai pas fait, mais ça aurait pas été gênant de le faire pour la suite. Je pense que ça aurait pu rassurer des personnes peut-être plus âgées qui ont un peu peur de sortir encore.
Well, meanwhile, France 24 sports editor Simon Harding takes us through the first day of the tournament and gives us his take on what is expected this Monday when Roger Federer and Serena Williams, among others, take to the courts.
A wonderful day to start this 120th edition of Roland Garros with already a major surprise in the men's draw. Austrian Dominic Thiem, number 4 in the world, knocked out in the first round by Pablo Andújar, and this despite Dominic Thiem winning the first 2 sets, the Spanish player winning that one in 5 sets. Other results in the men's draw: a defeat for Frenchman Grégoire Barrère, who lost 6-4, 6-1, 6-4 against Italian Fabio Fognini, but a huge performance by fellow Frenchman Enzo Cuoco, who beat Belarusian Gerasimov in straight sets. In the ladies' draw, a big defeat for Angelique Kerber, who continues to fail to rekindle her tennis form. There was a victory for a Spanish player, Paula Badosa, 6-2, 7-6 against American Davis. Naomi Osaka also made the headlines, not for a victory against Romania's Tig, 6-4, 7-6, but for refusing to take part in her post-match press conference. The Japanese star had warned the organisation she would not be taking part in any media press conferences because, according to her, it is bad for players' public health. It affects players' public health. Roland Garros, we're quick to sanction the player, $15,000 fine, and a warning that if she continued not to fulfill her obligations towards the media, then she would be disqualified from the tournament. That will certainly be one of the stories to follow during this edition of Roland Garros. Monday promises to be just as spectacular. We will witness the return of Roger Federer on the Persian clay, as well as Serena Williams coming back and trying to win her 24th Grand Slam.
You're watching live from Paris. If you're just joining us, these are our top stories this hour. The joining of usually opposing forces could push Israel's longest-serving premier out of office. An ally of Benjamin Netanyahu, Naftali Bennett, has agreed to coalition talks with Yair Lapid. Netanyahu called it a betrayal of the country's right-wing voters. The United States spied on European leaders, including Angela Merkel, with the help of Danish intelligence services. Such as a report from a consortium of European media. The Danish Defence Ministry has yet to make a comment. And Sri Lanka says it will sue the owner of a Singapore-registered vessel that has been burning off its shores for the past 11 days, causing serious pollution and condemning beaches there. Time to turn to some business news now. Yuka Royer joins us on set for that. Yuka's Europe and the United States are gradually lifting COVID-19 restrictions. Some countries in Asia battling rising infections. China re-imposing travel restrictions there.
In Guangzhou province, it's a province bordering Hong Kong in the south of the country, and the capital city of Guangzhou is a major business center with more than 15 million inhabitants. Most electronic factories in China are located in the area. But starting Monday night, people coming in and out of the city by public transport must present a negative COVID test result. Travel restrictions also apply to people leaving the province. The decision was made after 20 new cases were confirmed in the area. Very small number compared to some other regions in the world, but Chinese authorities were alarmed that they were local transmissions of the Indian variant. Now this comes as China's factory activity slowed down slightly in May. New official manufacturing purchasing managers index, or PMI, dropped 0.1 point from April to 51, which still indicates growth. Rising commodity prices, including steel, iron ore, and
to any civil standard or any criminal standard. And what does that do to change the landscape? I think it puts the goalposts back to a position where there must be more reasonable, balanced and fair reporting of matters like this. And had this action not been taken and they not backed down, that would have been to the detriment of every single Australian. Forget being a public figure or a politician, it wouldn't matter who you were or what you did, you would have faced a new standard of presumption of guilt by accusation. And that, I think, has now had a line drawn under it.
And the claim that it's in the public interest, like where you say claims like that, the media will say it's in the public interest.
Well, fair, balanced and reasonable reporting is in the public interest. But reporting where journalists are coaching people.
Find the ways to window it yourself. The mind that honors respect and kindness. The valor that fears no challenges. The perfect balance, body and mind. Discover yourself. The way of finding your infinite potential is the very foundation of Taekwondo. Taekwondo, the great change.
We probably heard Gangnam. What is Gangnam exactly?
Presque de moitié. Et vous le verrez très vite. Ne plus fumer, c'est faire énormément d'économies. Monsieur Dan, vous avez décidé d'arrêter de fumer, de ne plus être dépendant? Bravo. Vous pouvez le faire seul ou être accompagné par un professionnel de santé, ce qui augmente vos chances de réussite de 70%. Une fois la dernière cigarette éteinte, vous voilà sur le ring. Vous pouvez opter pour un traitement de substitution nicotinique adapté sur prescription médicale et
을 마비시킨 에버 기분호의 좌초 원인은 선장에게 있다는 조사 결과를 발표했다고 외신들이 보도했습니다. 외신들에 따르면 수에즈 운하 관리청 조사 책임자인 사헤드 시사는 기자회견을 통해 에버 기분호가 운하에 진입할 때 짧은 시간 여러 차례 좌우로 방향을 틀었다고 밝혔습니다.
코로나 사태 때문에 평소 생각하지 못했던 인류라는 거창한 단어가
Delos BG, chicken wing, fresh Ethiopian mushroom, via sauce, soy sauce, chuka, lime juice, paneer. There you go. Voila, it's just that simple. Korean fried wing. Enjoy.
Lima Rencha, Lima Rasa, Tuesdays on the Asian Food Network.
Or something like that. I'd be impressed. You know, definitely. Give it a go.
Yes.
All right. George, right. Crack onto the glass. Peter, you can actually make Orokini sit down. Brilliant. Well done. Round of applause for Peter.
It's Murray. Isn't Toroma?
हमने ही बोलवा भेजा था बेईमान आदमी हवालात में रहे तो अच्छा लगता है बहू तुम अंदर जाओ आइए आइए इंस्पेक्टर साहब ये रहा आपका अपराधी अपना गुनाह कबूल कर लिया है इसने
Pero at least alam mo na yung feeling na maybe you did something wrong and nabilangan ka. Pero tomorrow, I think it will be a better performance. Alam mo na,
Because they were so agitated.
Você é isso mais? Era Dio Dia. Esra Dente.
May he who eliminated this eliminate me.
Sure. It's just that I don't want to say. And there were 5 or 6 of them. I just. All right. Just came after me. You still got it? Well, yes, sir. It's right here.
Glad to see that. As the rightful owner of this cross, we'll press charges and get it back. We got witnesses, 5 or 6 of them. Good day.
You lost today, kid. Does this mean you have to like it?
Small world, Dr. Jones. Too small for two of us. This was the second time I've had to reclaim my property from you. That belongs in a museum. So do you. Throw them over the side.
Nyo in English.
Sir, little boy, sir.
Good. Ay, ayos. Now, ano sa English ang casa? Jimenez. Sir? Casa? Casa.
Yan ang parin sila sa... Pabalik ko doon.
No more foolishness this time. What is casa in English? Ibigyan ang lukos.
Sir, help.
Muy bien, hija. That is good. Querida, what is querida in English? Ligaspi. Querida in English. Querida? Kapitan. Foolish, ha? Especially yung 3 boys, ha? Porque mga basketball players kayo, eh. Akala nyo kung sino na kayo. Well, kailangan bago kayo masloko, kailangan pumasa kayo dito sa subject ko. Now, bilang parusa ko sa inyo, I'll give you a quiz. Uy, pare, tignan mo natutulog.
Mahirap bibigyan.
Ay, wala. Dalawang piso. Malayo tayo. Sige, tatlo.
Sir, ginawa ko na yung mga sini.
Sorry Natalie. Talagang hindi ako pwede ngayon. Marami pa akong trabaho. Marami pa akong ipapagawa. Sana naman. Pangako talaga sa susunod. Hindi na kita ibibigyan. Tawagan na lang kita.
Tawagan. Pagkatapos paghihintay mo lang ako uli sa wala. Puro kapalipan. Puro kasalita. Puro kapupuntahan mo ko. Puro kakalakat! Hindi ako sinasalik! Pareho kayong mga lalaki! Pinagako niyo na kami mga babae!
It just gets better and better. That is none of your business. Look at you. Return to your camp.
Addy, son, put away the taser. Jack Bird, CIA.
CIA, what? Says here you're retired. What you gonna show me next, old timer? Your AARP card?
Now you listen to me, and you listen good.
What you doing?
Don't worry. You have no right to talk.
Stand down,
No,
sir.
I will not stand down. You will stand
I
down.
will not stand down.
You will stand down, and you will be working security in a retirement home in Boynton Beach.
Command call.
It's been almost an hour. You think I caught up with him?
Sure, sweetheart. To find out Bernie, they're probably sitting in a cafe in Little Havana eating chimichangas and working out their issues.
Check it out! He's got a rubber movie!
What's going on? I was talking to Judge Goldfarb. It's time, we're out.
What are you talking about? I thought you were making our one phone call.
We don't need it. I ran into the judge in the hall. I took care of everything.
Yeah, right.
What are you saying, Jack?
I'm saying if you had kept your mouth shut in the first place, we wouldn't even be in this mess.
I'm a lawyer, Jack. I'm trying to get us out of here.
What did you do? Give the judge a fondue recipe?
At least I'm comfortable enough in my own skin to cook for my family. When is the last time you gave your wife breakfast in bed? When is the last time you gave her anything in bed?
Now you're out of line, fucker.
You are out of line, man.
You are out of
No,
line.
you hurt my feelings there. There's no
You're out of
reason
line.
to hurt my feelings.
You guys stop
He
it.
insulted me.
Yeah, well, this isn't about you, all right? It's not about either of you. It's about me and Pam. We're getting married. That's it. We're starting our own circle of trust. And guess what? You're not in it.
You can't start a circle of trust. It's my circle.
You know what? You don't have a patent on the circle, Jack. And by the way, you're not even in your own circle right now.
That is untrue. I say who's in or out of the circle.
I'm confused. Whose circle am I in?
Nobody's. Look, we're starting a family, okay? We're gonna have a baby. I have a 15-year-old son. You guys gotta just put aside your issues and do what's best for us, okay?
Greg, Jorge's not your son.
What?
I had a comparative DNA analysis conducted last night, and I made a mistake.
You made a mistake?
Yes, I did.
Wait a minute. True serum DNA matches? Who the hell are you, Jack Burns?
I'm not really a florist, Bernard. I was in the CIA for 32 years, and I retired right now.
Oh, sure. Well, that makes sense.
Hello. Barney, what the heck are you still doing here?
Ira, please open up. Let these guys out. Archie, what exactly did he say to you?
He didn't have to say anything. Dr. Ross saved my marriage. I'd do anything for that woman. You tell Sugar Pants I'll see her in class next week.
Will do, Ira. Thanks. Well, what can I say? I'm married to a very powerful woman.
All right, let's go. Could you close the cell door?
What?
We want to remain in the cell.
We're not done talking yet. So what do you think, huh? Can we work this out or not?
Okay.
Jack? Good enough. All right, then I think Pam and I should get married this weekend.
This weekend? Oh, I'm not so sure that's a good idea.
You want to be in the circle or not, Jack?
Okay, we'll do it this weekend.
Oh, Jack.
Hey,
I think I'd get Judge Ira to marry